Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Friends of Mortgage Heroes. I am so excited to have my friend from college. Yes, you heard that. College, Dave Fraser in the house. And we're going to talk all about custom decks today. Now you're like, okay, what does it have to do with anything? There's a lot of business knowledge in this conversation that's going to come, as well as I'm going to read his bio in a second about all the accolades and awards they've won and recognition they have nationally. So those of you that are in real estate, those of you that are in trades, those of you that are here in San Diego or in Southern California, I say at large, I really want you to focus in on what we're doing today. Dave, welcome to the studio. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Do you do a lot of podcasts, by the way?
I've done a decent amount.
A couple of them?
Yeah,
okay.
Probably like 5 or 6 of them.
I'm excited for our friends to know about you. We have a lot of different business people on here, even some nonprofits that work in the veteran space and military space. But when we have people that are in and around mortgage and real estate that are our friends, we want to make sure we talk about that and that our audience knows more about how to reach you and what you can do to help them, especially when it comes to having something they want in their own residence. So
Perfect.
But before I get into that, I want to read your actual bio and I have to read it and I don't normally have to read it, but I want to read it because there's a lot in here that I want you all to know about today. So, Dave Fraser, a 2002 Pepperdine business graduate turned serial entrepreneur from a tech startup to a public speaking venture to the ongoing clothing brand Archon with our friend Derek Pollard. Dave brings a diverse business perspective. He is best known for running top-tier construction firm Fraser Decks and Patio Covers, which has been recognized as a top 10 deck builder nationally by Deck Specialist magazine and was named the #1 deck builder nationally by Moso Bamboo Decking. Fraser Decks and Patio Covers also has 18 National Deck of the Year awards, plus multiple Deck of the Year awards from major brands like Trex and TimberTech. Please welcome Dave Fraser. So, Dave, thank you for coming to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
I don't normally have to read that much, and it's not an accusation at the people we have on the show. But I mean, dude, being named top 10 in that industry, first of all, there's thousands of people in this space. Being named #1 by the bamboo manufacturer, that's crazy because that's a specialized type of material.
Yep.
Let's get everyone caught up really quick. How the heck did you get into decking from all these other things you had done professionally?
All right. So it's actually kind of a fun story. So we went to Pepperdine together. And if you remember, when we graduated, the only high-speed internet was on campus. So the rest of Malibu, all these $10 to $30 million homes, had dial-up or satellite. So we're dating ourselves, but that's all that was there. So my buddy and I came up with an idea to start an internet service provider. So we ran a T3 trunk line into Malibu. We had the first hotspot in California, and we had relay stations throughout Malibu on top of houses of friends of ours. And it went really well until a company came in with, $10 million and just ran us over. And while we were licking our wounds, we were also working part-time for his dad, helping him run his construction company. So he always joked, you guys work 3 hours a day. I'll pay you full time while you play with your startup. And so it collapsed and we were working for him and we were doing so well with it. We ran his company for 5 years. Then we started out and started our own. So this is in Orange County and it went really well. And then eventually I moved back to San Diego and started this company. I don't know, it's been about 15, 20 years and started this down here. So I fell backwards into construction. Construction is not what I didn't grow up in it. It was not anything that I planned. But then once I was doing it and we had a big remodel we were doing, Phil and I were doing this big remodel and they had some decks and we had so much fun. It was like being a kid on a jungle gym, hanging upside down, screwing around. I was like, this is so much more fun than custom homes. So we started mixing and matching, doing both. And eventually we let all our employees vote. Do you guys want to go full time on this or keep doing half and half? And they all voted to go full time outdoors.
Whoa.
And every single one of them voted the same way. And so that's when we went exclusive.
Wow. What year was that?
So that was about 13 years ago.
Wow.
And we just let them all decide and they wanted to go outside. And it is much more fun. Homeowners are always in a great mood. So if you're doing a kitchen remodel, there's this same thing that happens every time. You have a 4-week project. First week, you demo their kitchen. There's there's still some attachment to it, even though they want a new kitchen. There's still some attachment. Second week, their kitchen's empty. They come home from work. They don't see anything in the kitchen. They get mad. They're rude. And it's because you're doing electrical, plumbing, stuff that's hidden. Third week, you start putting in the cabinets, flooring. They start getting in a better mood. Fourth week, you do the finishing touches, and they're in a great mood, and they forget that they were a jerk for an entire week. We don't get that outdoors because it's all a new adventure. And so most people have never seen a deck or a patio cover be built. And so it's fun, but it's also not in their personal space. They can stand at the door or window and look outside without us encroaching into their personal space. You know, a lot of times when you're doing a remodel, you've got a refrigerator in your bathroom because the bathroom is your sink because there is no kitchen sink. And so, you know, people are very irritated when that happens. For us, we're all outdoors. We're not bothering them, and it's a fun adventure to watch it get built.
Yeah, the convenience or inconvenience is much different.
It is.
Yeah,
it's totally
I mean,
different.
I'm in the kitchen 9 times a day.
Yes.
I said 9 right away, so I didn't say 3, and then my wife's in the comments like, "Bro is in the kitchen 9 times
all the time,
not 3 times." Yeah, right.
So
I already know it's coming.
The other part of it is when you remodel a bathroom, within a month, that bathroom is just towels are thrown on the floor. It goes back to being a bathroom. Kitchen, it might make it 6 months before it's just back to being a kitchen. You know, the shine comes off quickly. If I do a good job on a backyard with a deck, those people are living out there. They're, you know, kids are getting off their iPads and they're playing in the backyard. They're like, it's inviting. They want to be there. And 10 years later, they're doing that. My first composite deck was in 2007. And that couple, they called me a couple years later. She was really mad at me because her husband retired the next day and lives on the deck. So he has a spa, a hammock, and we built their deck out so they had no view, and now they have an ocean view. So from around the corner, and so he literally moved.
He's never in the house anymore.
So fast forward, I just went out there about 6 months
gosh.
ago, and he was just bragging about how he never leaves this deck, and like he just like it changed his life.
That's so awesome.
And so that kind of stuff, nobody calls me up 10 years later saying, "Man, you did my kitchen, you changed my life." Like, but we get that with what we do. So I really like what we do in the process, and then long term.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I mean, even the way you talk about it, that and the other thing too, and this is just a common denominator across anyone who's, let's say, top 10 or literally named number 1, is they love. There's a passion for what you do. It's not just commoditized, like, oh, okay, yeah, deck over here, deck over there, deck over here, but it's like actually something behind it. And you know, you started this part of a conversation talking about how the employees, your people you're working with, said, no, let's do this.
Yes.
And so there's a business lesson in there, for sure, for people.
And those guys who voted, they're still with me.
Okay, so on the surface, it probably seems really obvious. What are some other business lessons you learned in that by giving everyone a voice in that? And then also now the sustainability of keeping them on board.
So one of the big things that I found that, so I try not to take credit for this stuff. So all these awards, I didn't build any of them. None of the decks that I built when we were building on our own, none of those won awards. The guys who I have working for me now, they built all these decks that won the awards. So I always make sure, you read the article, I always make sure that I do not publicly take credit for this, that these are the guys doing it, that they are, and I name them all the time by name who did it, because I want them to know that that I'm not out here bragging about how awesome I am at building decks. My friends all joke. They're like, we know you don't do any actual work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's a big deal to me, is making sure that they are recognized for the awesome work they do.
Yeah. Well, it's also cool that you include them in the feature piece. So, I mean, just in this one you sent me, Pedro, Leo, Tio, like, right there.
Yeah.
Always posting up the guys too.
Yeah. So, and they were the guys who made, so we'll get to that article in a bit, but that, like, they were the guys who made the magic happen on the first of its kind project ever.
That's so amazing.
And I wasn't even sure it could actually happen. Like, I planned it with the homeowner, and I was like, and I had all these caveats in the contract in case it didn't work of what we were going to do instead. And then it worked perfectly. And
well, we're already there.
Okay.
And it's okay. We can do. We'll just follow this flow. I don't have a specific order for things, but I want to talk about this because in the article they're talking about it's a waterfall design.
Yes.
But so whose crazy idea was this? First of all, was this yours or was it the homeowner?
It was the homeowner, 100%.
Okay, because you're saying caveats in the contract, so that could have been your idea, but it's not.
The caveats were my idea. The idea was hers, and we've done it before. So let me explain it. A waterfall deck, if you think of a waterfall kitchen countertop, comes to the edge and turns 90 degrees and goes down. So for decking, we do that all the time, but you take two boards and you miter them together. Well, this idea is to take one board and bend it 90 degrees. And a lot of builders around the country have done 1, 2, 3 boards for a bench or a step, but I've never seen anybody do, over 1,000 square feet, every single board waterfalled. And so we did that, and it was, pool deck. And then we had two identical decks that did waterfalls on both sides. And then the stairs were even more tricky. They went up, across, and down. So it was double waterfalls on every step. So it was pretty fun. And it won a National Deck of the Year award. It won Best Pool Deck in the country this year. And then Deck Specialist Magazine just wrote this article. It just came out a couple days ago about what my guys did. And it's awesome because since this all happened, now there's about 20 or 30 builders around the country currently doing waterfall decks.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of calls from guys asking me, what was the bit you used to route out the back? Like,
Right.
And I'm an open book. So I'm like, here's all the information. When we did it, we didn't know. So I actually got some help from some guys around the country trying to narrow down the bit, because we wasted about $5,000 in boards that we damaged trying to figure out the process.
Wow.
Because most of the time, most people had used skill saws to do it because you're only doing 3 boards. So you're not really researching it. We found the perfect bit. We built a jig. We built a hanging rack that could hold 70 boards at a time so that we could install them super fast in the morning while the temperature is all the same. So we had this whole process, and Leo, the lead on the project, he built the jig. He came up with the drying rack. Like he was the reason why this all actually worked. And they came up with a really good system to where the boards were going through the jig really, pretty darn fast. There's a video on my Instagram page. If you scroll down a little on my Instagram, on the Fraser Decks and Patio Covers Instagram page, I have a video. It's in 2 times speed, even though it doesn't seem like it, of them actually routering out the back of the boards, gluing it, bending it, and pulling it off the rack. So if you want to see what it looks like, it's pretty cool. So go check out our Instagram page for that.
So we, as you've been talking about this, we're putting up the pictures of this and we're showing the video. How long did this actual project take you to finish?
Oh man, I think it was about 5 months.
It was 5 months.
Yeah.
But is it because of that, what you had to develop as well as doing all the install
Correct.
too?
Yeah. And
was there special? Did you have to do anything special on the property before you could do this install?
Yeah, I mean we had engineering for this, so this was all spec'd out.
I mean, it's separate from like a normal engineering spec. I mean,
No,
did you have to do something different because of the way you were designing it?
So just a little bit of the framing. So California requires some crazy framing, so we were already over engineered. But down the sides to support the boards, we had to have some stuff, extra framing so that we could attach it. And then on this, we did something that I didn't mention in the article, but so normally you either screw through the boards, you recess a screw through the boards and put a plug, or you do hidden fasteners with grooves in between the boards. We did a mix on this. So we took boards that are square edge and we routed out the sides in just where the hidden fasteners would go, only there. So it's not continuous grooves. And so we routed those out and put hidden fasteners, and then on the perimeter and on the walls, everything was plugged. So recessed screws with plugs. Wow. So we did a mix, and that is something we've only done that a couple times. That's not a common practice, but the homeowners didn't want an entire deck plugged because we try to make the plugs look perfect, and if you do a good job, you usually can. You can make them disappear. If you do a bad job, it's very really ugly. But
I've seen some deck fails on Instagram and YouTube where you're like, man, there's there's gaps between the end of the board and the edge. There's overlapping. So you're like, how did this person even get hired to do this thing?
So the gapping. So that was one of the issues. On both sides, we had these boards come up and then come across, and they had to die into the pool coping. But these boards expand and contract 1/2 inch every day when it's cold. And so we didn't want to have boards moving all over the place. So that's why we installed them all at the same exact time at the same temperature so that they're locked into there. And then we waited for a hot day to where all the boards were pushed against the coping. And so it was all tight. And then we went and added plugs all the way along so that they can't pull off, so that it stays perfect and doesn't pull away.
Yeah. For those of you who are a little bit like, I'm listening to you and I'm imagining the complexity and the specificity for which all this is being done, and I feel like you're already way beyond where I would stop at trying to understand this kind of thing. But that's also the same kind of thing that makes you guys again so so rewarded in doing this because you are absolutely putting that level of attention to detail into this kind of work, which is then why you're getting these jobs and people are trusting you with these massive projects. And in this case, kind of pioneering something.
Yeah. So you knew me in college, you would never guess, but like never predict that I would be so OCD on stuff like that. But I am on my projects. I'm essentially OCD about details. And my guys now know I am going to inspect every inch of this. So there's no point in trying to hide a mistake or, so they know my expectations. And so they do it right the first time now. I don't have to go have stuff repaired or replaced all the time. They know what the expectations are from the get-go.
Yeah. So what's something that, in 13 years, what's something that has changed now that wasn't, well, I should say it wasn't. What has evolved from when you started to now? Because you have like these
some major changes.
Okay, go talk about that.
Biggest one, and it's my biggest irritation in our industry. When I started, I could go pull a permit with hand-drawn plans. Took me about 20 minutes to draw it. City engineering. I'd have a permit for $100, $125, and I'd be out of there within an hour. Over-the-counter permit. Now, I'm on a project in Escondido. It's down the street from my house. We're in month 26 for a deck and patio cover permit of just 26 months.
That's 2 years and 2 months?
Correct.
That's
and
absurd.
We're about to get it.
I don't even know why it's absurd yet. I'm just saying it's absurd. Sorry, I'm jumping to the conclusion of being absurd.
The average permit now takes 4 to 12 months and usually costs about $7,000 for a deck or a patio cover.
Okay, wait, hold on, stop, hold on. Is that because of Escondido?
No, it's all San Diego, and the city of San Diego is actually the most expensive, but it's just super expensive in California to get permits because they require full plans and engineering. Those usually cost $4 or $5 grand just to get the plans. So instead of me being able to hand draw something or do some simple thing, they require full plans. Basically an architect and an engineer. Here's our stuff, and then your permit fees alone are usually between $1,000 to $5,000.
Dude, no way.
So I've had projects where the permit costs more than the project.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, but the delays on stuff, I have a bunch of projects that we're waiting to start right now. We just can't start. I mean, this project, 26 months, it should have been approved 2 years ago.
Dude, that's crazy. And so is there anything you can do? Well, this is such a dumb question. If there was anything you could do, you'd have already done it. What should change so that it's not taking 26 months to get a permit, dude?
So there's an incentive for the cities to have corrections because they get paid more the more corrections they insist you do. So they find reasons to cause delays on purpose so you pay them more in permit fees. And so if there was no incentive for them to charge more, that would speed things up. Or if there was some sort of repercussion, like, hey, you have 6 months to approve this permit. If at 6 months it gets auto issued. Mm-hmm. There is no one who works in the permit process cares if your project starts or not. There is no incentive for them to care if the house gets built, your deck gets built.
So today you're working on projects that over here started in the timeline 6 months, 12 months, 18 months ago.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
if someone starts projects, today,
it's usually at least a year wait before you can start a project with permits.
That's not. I'm not going to go on a city government rant. I promise I won't do it. I have plenty of those. I'm not going to do it.
I have friends around the country and they're like, "Oh, we signed yesterday and we're starting today," and like that doesn't exist.
Oh my God. Okay, no, I don't want to go on a rant, but okay. So someone who wants to start or who wants to have a deck in 2028 needs to start it like now.
Start planning now.
That is insane.
So the other thing that has changed is the cost. So your average deck in 2014 was about 30 a square foot. Then it jumped in 2019 to about 60. And then after COVID, now it's about $100 a square foot, not including railings.
Really?
So every 10 by 10 section of decking is about 10 grand.
Oh my gosh.
So I love what I do, but it's come very, very expensive to do.
Well, that, from what I've known, you guys are getting custom decks. I mean, I know that the word can get overused because every deck isn't the same. It's not like it comes in a box and you assemble it from IKEA. But I'm talking about customization that's beyond what a normal customization definition would be. So like
those can get more, but you still have to compete price wise. So yes, we're doing custom stuff, but my goal is to do amazing work for a fair price. And so we're not jacking up our price just because we do custom work. Mm-hmm. That those numbers are generally what the average builder in San Diego charges. So, and we're right around there too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be, I don't want to be charging Ferrari prices. It's already too expensive.
Yeah, I understand that. So at what point in this did you guys start getting more of this national recognition? I mean, you've gotten, more than a dozen awards or more recognition, but at what point was it like would you say you were like on the map?
So about 6 or 7 years ago is when we started to back. One of our first projects that we did, that Phil was a big part of. We did this hardwood one where he bent this wood around a corner that the manufacturer said couldn't be bent. And it was, just basically bending it, adding, 30 seconds of an inch a day, just twisting a little and bent all this stuff. And we did this crazy stuff. And a bunch of the brands saw us and started putting us in their advertising. So that was Mangaris was the brand. And so they had this van that goes all over the country. And the inside of it was just decked out with pictures of our project. And then we were on the cover of their national brochure. So that was, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And
well, that's super early in this whole evolution.
So it was one of our first big projects.
Wow.
But then that ended up being very local. So the lumber yards, J&W Lumber put us in their marketing. We had a framing project in Vista. They used the picture of our framing to sell lumber. Then Dixie Line Lumber, they, every month they come out with a brochure or an ad. Yeah, and in there's always one or two of our decks.
Something you made.
There's always one or two of our decks in there. So those were the stepping stones. And then nationally, we won Trex Deck of the Year and TimberTech Deck of the Year at the same exact time. So the two main brands, we won their first place for both of them. And then those two decks got entered for the National Deck of the Year awards for this group called NADRA, North American Deck and Railing Association. And they have essentially our industry's Academy Awards for best deck builders. And those two decks, they were in a certain category for projects over $100,000, and they got first and second place. So the TimberTech deck got first place, Trex deck got second place, and then they had won first place for each of the brands. And then that TimberTech deck got converted. They flew out a 30-man crew and did a whole commercial at our project, and it was a national commercial for 6 months. They had a tournament in Florida, and so it was the commercial for that golf tournament. And so they did this whole thing. So we started getting some recognition from those two projects. And then after that, we, every year we've won at least one Deck of the Year award every year for the last 6 years, but it's been 18 in the last 6 years.
That's crazy. Cause you got the actual wooden lumber side of this and you have the composite side, both who are like, hey, look at this stuff.
Yes.
That's crazy. So wait, was there any intention behind that, or did this kind of happen? Some people, so I'm asking you this because sometimes people go, oh yeah, everything is by design. You have to kind of like do this to do that, et cetera, et cetera. And then sometimes things just happen. How would you say this unfolded for you guys?
So I had a fun idea when the reason why we were in that van, instead of just doing the same marketing everybody else did online, just trying to just do standard promotion where you just kind of you're just part of the noise. I went to all of my vendors and my lumber yards. And so I'd go into my lumber yard and I'd bring pizza every Friday for all the employees and, give out our number. And then I would meet and go out with the vendors who actually sold the products. And, my rep for Mangaris, she's still one of my good friends today. Betsy Bendix, shout out to her. She was the one who helped put us in that van and on the cover of the brochure. And so I started, I started pushing, going through vendors that would refer us, all the lumberyard sales guys. And so when you go into a local lumberyard and you ask, they usually will give out our name, and those are already trusted sources. So I wanted the people on the back end to be referring us so that I could have credibility when a homeowner asks, why should we go with you? And I go, well, why don't you ask all the people who actually sell these products who they would go with? And so that was the concept, and it worked pretty well.
Dude, that's crazy. I'm not crazy like you're crazy. I'm saying that like that's awesome because that's like some rogue marketing stuff, Not that pizza's like some novel idea, but like the fact that you're telling, hey, let's go talk to the people that are supplying all this stuff. I mean, it makes sense to me because I think in similar terms to who's talking to the person before I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
But also to kind of out of the gate with that, but then also to then produce a result that they're impressed with and they want to see their product used for. and so visibly demonstrating its capability. That's smart, dude.
So there's one other thing. So if you go to any of the local lumber yards,
But wait, there's more on me.
I build the displays for the brands. So if you go into Dixieland Sports Arena, you'll see an entire deck, railing, and wall display that we built it all, and our name is on a little plaque there. So when people go in there, it's not only do they see our work, but the employees saw how my guys work, what they did. So the sales guys there know the quality. So you get to really see what we do. But then I like having the brands choose me, because then I can basically brag to homeowners, well, they trust me to build their displays over everyone else. Why wouldn't you trust me to build your deck?
Yeah.
And so I get it twofold, where I get the trust from the back end, but it's in action. They do select me to build their stuff everywhere.
Yeah. So definitely does not seem that you're like waking up and feeling like every day is just the same old day. Sounds like there's always something unique to be working on,
No.
but that you're consistently advancing either techniques or trying to apply new novel concepts or ways to use, I'll say substrates for lack of a better term. But I guess the question I'm trying to ask you is, do you constantly have new ideas always working in your head? Or are you only looking, okay, we have this coming up? Are you like in operator mode where, okay, we're project managing this and da-da-da? Or are you always visioneering something?
So it's not that I'm sitting around just trying to think of new ideas, but when I go to, projects, I go meet with homeowners and I see what they're doing, I do try to come up with out-of-the-box ideas. But a lot of times the homeowners come up with them. I just had one yesterday where I told them what I would do, and the homeowner, she said, well, what about this? I went, we've never done that before, but that would be awesome. So now I'm putting together a proposal to do that, because it was a better idea than what I came up with. So
that's great.
We do like doing new stuff that other people haven't done. So we do a good amount of curve decking. So where we have this machine where we heat up the boards and we bend them like wet noodles, and then when they cool down, they're solid. And so
take their
curved
shape.
stairs and curved edges and curved railings, and you can do all sorts of stuff. You can do designs so we call them inlays, where on this table you do a design out of a different material in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So we do inlays, that kind of stuff. One of our projects, we went to Vegas, so took my crew out to Vegas, and we did 2 brands hired us to build their displays in Las Vegas for the International Builder Show. So massive. One was 900 square feet. One was like 1,500 square feet. And we had 3 days to do both.
Wait.
They were,
one was 900 square feet and one was what?
1,500
square. And you had 3 days?
Yeah. So they were basically 20-hour days every day.
Hold on. This sucks for everybody that's been waiting for 26 months, because they're like, hey, I want a 3-day deck.
Yeah. They weren't built legally because they're, on the ground and have to come up. But so
They're at a convention center. Okay.
Yes,
Calm down, everybody.
But so we've done 3 years in a row. So this brand Old Castle that owns Moisture Show Decking, we've done their display in Vegas 3 years in a row. And then TimberTech had us do their display not this year, but last year. So this year it's in Florida, so we didn't want to go out that far. But in Vegas, we got to do that. And one of them that won an award. So 3 years ago it won first place. This year it won third place for best public display. And we had inlays in both. Wow. And the one that won first place had a massive 10-foot by 10-foot inlay. It was pretty awesome. This one was a smaller 3-foot by 3-foot inlay. So, but those are really fun things. So we do try to do new stuff. I really feel like this waterfall thing, we've triggered a new trend nationwide. Like there's so many guys that are now going to be jumping on this to try to do it. And I'm very honored. I actually talked to the homeowner this morning and told him, it's like, this was your idea, and I think you've just set the next trend of decking.
Yeah, well, especially if it's being highlighted in the magazine like we're talking about, and people seeing it. And you said you fielded 20 phone calls already?
Yeah.
Or approximately?
So I've had 7 or 8 guys reach out to me for the bit information.
Right.
But it's also in the articles, so they don't need to reach out, but I'm seeing Instagram posts from guys around the country that are now suddenly doing waterfall decking.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's awesome.
So something that I know that you do well, and I wanted to ask you specifically on this platform, is you have done a really good job at positioning your brand and your company by utilizing its success in a private residence to then share with everybody else in a public format.
Yes.
Sometimes people that we're around, they are afraid that by sharing their successes or their awards will make them come across as egotistical or self-serving. How have you been able to manage that with such a level of success at I'll say a heightened level of success repeatedly,
Yeah.
and maintain your brand kind of trajectory? And obviously it's not going to your head, number one, but number two, like, what would your advice be to people who are afraid to talk about these things at the risk of, oh, I don't want to come across as self-centered?
So there are drawbacks to doing it. And actually the number one drawback is that I get calls from people who go, I know you don't do this kind of work, but can you refer me to somebody who will do my smaller deck? And I go, no, we absolutely do. But because my marketing is all these grandiose, monster projects, they think we don't do the 10 by 20, the small balcony, and we absolutely do. So that's actually something that I have thought I need to make some adjustments on. I haven't really run into any issues of people thinking that we're egotistical. That's because I use our Instagram page, our Yelp page as idea boards for people. Go through these pictures. What do you like? What do you dislike? Find some projects that you like so that we know kind of where you're looking to go.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just use ours, go online. So I haven't really run into the issue of people thinking it's self-serving, but I definitely run into routinely people thinking that we don't take on the inexpensive or smaller projects. And we absolutely do. It is probably the biggest flaw to my company, though. We do more of these monster projects than we do of the small ones, and the small ones are much more profitable. So, I have some competitors that just do the cookie cutter 8 by 12, 10 by 16, and they just repeat the same thing over and over, and they make way more money because they're doing the profitable smaller ones. Whereas these big ones, let's say it's going to take 12 weeks. What happens if it takes 14 weeks?
Yeah.
You just ate 2 weeks of labor with no recourse. So they can be very expensive. So we look at the big projects as our marketing stuff. And that's my marketing budget, is those big ones.
Yeah.
That's how I account for when I lose money on a project. It's marketing.
Yeah. Well, and part of the reason I'm angling the question this way is because, off camera, I talk to a lot of people in business. I talk to a lot of people in and around military space, in and around entrepreneurship, in and around nonprofit space. And there's starting to become a more obvious, to me, there's starting to become a more obvious divide between those that are sharing what they do online and those who are not sharing what they do.
Yeah.
And my concern, I won't say worry because it's not really worrisome, but my concern is I know plenty of people who are hesitating to share their successes. They're hesitating to do the kinds of things like you're talking about because it seems like extra work, or it's not my strength or whatever. How have you been able to manage taking what is being done at someone's residence and then putting it in the social spaces where other people can see it and then look to you to help make the thing that they want to?
Hire a good photographer. First off, don't be scared to show your successes. When homeowners are looking, they're trying to find what differentiates you from someone else. If they get 3 bids and they're all about the same, they're trying to figure out why they should go with you. And I always tell people, ask certain questions. Hey, call previous clients. Were they smoking in your backyard? Were they peeing in your backyard? Like, how was the process? The final deck looks awesome, but did they say it'd be a month and it took 6 months? Ask questions, not just how is the deck? Because the finished product isn't the whole story. If a project's supposed to take 4 weeks and it takes 6 months, there was some chaos, or some guys will only work Mondays and Fridays on your project and disappear 3 days a week. So ask those. As far as promoting yourself, get a good photographer. So I have an awesome photographer, Sean Barrett Photography. He has been a part of most of our awards. For the last 5 years, he's just been killing it for us on photos. So much so that he now shoots for some of the brands too, because they saw his work with us. And so find a good photographer who understands what you're looking for. Because I have very certain things that I want in my photos and videos that, some people want up close. Hey, what's the texture of the board? I don't care about that. I want people to see how it can actually be used in their backyard. So I want big picture. Hey, here's where the pool is. Here's where the barbecue is. Here's where the children's play area is. Here's where the basketball court is. Here's where our patio cover. Here's where our deck goes. Like, how are you actually going to really use it in real life? And that's what I like. little side note, I just mentioned basketball courts. So we just tried to do new stuff. Once again, homeowner's idea, but it was a cool idea. So they had a rectangle backyard, not very big. And they had a small pool. And then we did a second story balcony with a spiral staircase. And then the edge of their property was about 4 feet away. And then and they had a fence, and then it dropped down a big hill. So we knocked down that fence, built a deck off of the hillside out into space, and then put a basketball court on top of it. And it now is a sport court with a full basketball hoop, big nets around the side so the ball doesn't get lost. But, it's a real deck. So it's got, Trex decking, railing around the edge. But then we put this stuff over top, a really nice basketball court. And the sport court, he's a Spurs fan, so he ordered it with a Spurs logo inlay. And it's awesome. And I've never seen one of those before. It was just a really cool concept. I was like, let's do this. That sounds fun.
Wait, hold on.
It's a half court.
How big is it's a half court?
Yeah, it's about 35 feet long and about 20 feet wide.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's pretty awesome.
Did you have to do any trick stuff on again, I'm going to go back to permitting because of our earlier conversation. Did you have to do some trick stuff to get them to allow you to extend it out into this space?
The issues we had were setbacks. So how close, because there's a street down below the neighbors, the next street. So we had a certain limit to how far we could go. And so we had to creep back into the grass a little with our concrete to make the basketball court fit. But no special hoops. It was a high fire zone, so we had to do extreme high fire framing, and then the footings were monsters. But that's all normal stuff, whether we were doing the basketball court or not. And then we built it so that if he ever moved, he could take his basketball court off and sell the house with a regular deck and railing. So it is all legit as just a regular deck.
Right.
It just happens to have a basketball court on top of it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's
fun.
the first. So that's
the
a
first one
new
we've
one?
done. That's the first one we've ever done like that. I've never seen it.
So do you have something else that's already in the process of being another first that's just stuck in permitting right now? It's not yet broken ground.
I don't, but I do. So the 26-month one is kind of a fun one.
Okay.
The reason why it was a fight for 26 months is they live on the outskirts of this historical area, and they're not technically part of it, but the city's making them follow the rules of that area anyways. And so that's been the big fight.
Why? You don't know. Okay, never mind. Sorry, that's my city rant part. Sorry, go back to your story.
But we pulled some cool moves to win fights with the city. So they said they had an existing balcony and they wanted a patio cover, and they want to change it to a composite deck and then this aluminum patio cover. Well, these aluminum patio covers that we're putting in didn't exist in 1961, which is when it's supposed to be dated, and the composite decking didn't either. So they immediately rejected everything. So we went to the homeowner's insurance company and got a letter from them stating that if the city didn't let them put in composite decking, they were going to cancel the homeowner's insurance because it's because of fire risk, and they don't want wood decking it. So at first the city fought us on it. Eventually they relented, but they said you can't do the aluminum patio cover. So I had my 3D designer, they did a 3D image, and I said, what if we made all the post wood and the trim wood so that from the street you couldn't see anything but wood, and then the stucco wall on the deck? And they said, oh, that would probably work. And so so that's where we're in the final stage of permitting. It looks like we're going to get our permit for exactly what they wanted from the beginning. Just we had to jump through some hoops with the city, and it's going to be pretty cool because I've never seen one of these that is a wood trim frame. It's the louvered covers that open and close.
Oh, that's super cool.
And that it's got this cool lighting stuff. So we think we've got the city beat.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, and you're demonstrating a little bit of ingenuity can maybe salvage the concept and the vision. Just got to think about it, look at it from a different angle, or come at it from a different angle.
The city was adamantly opposed to us doing anything, and eventually now we're basically getting
what you wanted. It just had to be a little bit
just had to jump through some
sculpted
hoops.
a little differently.
Exactly.
Dude, that's crazy. I really don't envy that. I mean, I'm listening to you secondhand tell these stories about working with permitting a city. I'm like, I really don't envy any of that at all. Not a minute of it, Dave.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, but to go back to something I said earlier, like your passion and your drive and your interest in doing this at such an excellent level, it doesn't surprise me that you'll endure. I'm using the word endure.
Yes.
Endure that to be able to do the other part of it, which is deliver this to the happy homeowner. So
and there are rules to dealing with the cities. You really can't fight with them too much. You can't fight with inspectors. You have to be very careful, because if you get on the bad side, of a plan checker or inspector, you're in big trouble. When I worked up in Orange County, I got into a fight with an inspector, and he wanted us to do certain plans and engineering that weren't required. And it was going to cost, it was at a church, it was going to cost the church $20,000. And I said, we're not doing that. It's not required. I don't have to do that. And he said, well, I'm not signing off. So I went to his boss, and I was right. And the boss, the head of the building department, made him apologize to me in front of everybody. And as we walked out, he said, that was good. Smooth move. You'll never work here again. And I could not pull permits. My business partner had to pull all permits because I couldn't show my face in that city anymore. So I learned my lesson. And there was another inspector in another city who was a well-known jerk. And it was my first project with him, and I was pretty new. So I went up to him and I said, hey, mister, I'm new to this, and I've heard you've been doing this a long time. Do you have any advice for somebody new to this industry? He put his arm around my shoulder. He said, son, I'll show you the ropes. I got everything I wanted approved. I just had to call him and ask, and he would sign off on whatever I wanted because I had shown him, respect from the beginning. And I watched him. We had a project, and a friend of mine had a project across the street, and they came over. We got our stuff approved, and they were doing almost the same exact thing, and they failed. And he comes over, how'd you get yours approved? I go, I don't know, because he would fail everybody on everything.
That's crazy. I mean, look, I'm saying that's crazy, but honestly, I'm not surprised. I hate that though. I love it.
To know your audience.
I understand that. I understand that, but the whole favoritism thing when it comes to public and civil government, your local government,
but it's a reality,
dude. That sucks big time.
Yeah.
And I bear witness to a couple things that's happened around this town here in Chula Vista with some things. Like, that's moving pretty quick, and that one's not moving at all. And they should be moving at the same speed. And I know that's why I'm over here. Like when the camera's on you and not on me, I'm grimacing. Everybody, I'm like, oh, I hate this so much. Not hate that you're getting favoritism part because I understand.
Well, it's only in a few. And others,
I know,
but
others,
it's
but at the same
months.
time, people that are going to hold something over you that they don't need to and don't have a right to, and they're in a public position where their job is to actually look at what you provided and provide a response that's adequate in a timely fashion that delivers to you, so you can go do that for their citizen that they're working for. That's when Andy starts having a problem.
So we're finishing up a project. Finishing up a project this week. I can't say the city, but my client got really mad, and it was about 4 months into the permitting process, and he said, what is taking so long? He goes, can you call the city and fight with them to get them? I said, absolutely not. That'll put us to the bottom of the list. He said, that's not fair. I'm going to call them and complain. And I said, please do not do that. We will add 9 months to the waiting process if you do that. That you don't understand what will happen if you do that. And he didn't. But afterwards, he's like, it's not fair. Why are they not just doing their jobs? Why would they hold that against you for asking them to do their jobs? I was like, that's how the cities work. You just don't mess with them. It's a California thing.
Next topic. I gotta move on. I'll get stuck on city. I'll get stuck on city stuff, and I don't want to get stuck on city stuff. Again, I have seen both sides of it. I'm not trying to say it's only one-sided. There are great people that work at the city as well. I know great people that work at the city. I also know people that have been in the city for a very, very, very long time, and they are more beholden to the way they want things to go than what the letter of the law requires. And that's the part I have an issue with.
I got one last funny one.
Go for it.
I had an inspector for one of the big cities have me come out and give him a bid for his deck. And then he said, by the way, I'm not getting permits because I'm not waiting for how long it takes. I won't say the words he said, but he had some rude words to say. And he said, I'm not getting permits. And I was like, well, I can't take on your project because I'm not telling an inspector that I'm going to build his deck without a permit. So, because he had to, he's got to inspect my projects. So,
bro, that kind of sounds like a trap.
That's what
that sounds like. That sounds like entrapment, bro.
No, he was adamant. He was not.
No way.
Yeah, he was very rude about what he thought of his coworkers. I went, well.
But then he's also asking someone to also sidestep the law.
Yes.
Who would normally otherwise be following the law for the same department that he works for?
I can't do that. Sorry.
That's wild.
Yeah. But so even the people in the building know what's going on.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me about what's next. We got to move on. Tell me about what's next. What's next for you guys? What's next for your company? Where are you going? Show me what the rest of 2026 looks like. What are you looking at in the future? What are you excited about? Share with everybody kind of what's happening currently and then what the future holds for you guys.
So a lot of stuff, we were doing a lot of aluminum stuff aluminum patio covers, lattice, but louvered. So one of my favorite things is the louvered covers that open and close. They're watertight. They're really cool. We install a brand called Sundance Louvered out of Colorado, and just really phenomenal. The problem is with tariffs and everything else, it's sky high on pricing. Aluminum's through the roof, but they're really cool. So that's one of my favorite things that we're doing a lot of. A lot of the composite brands, the next step that they've already come out with is cool deck technology. So a lot of these deck boards, Trex has retroactively put it back in all of their boards. Moisture Shield was one who started it 10 or 15 years ago, where you can stand on these boards without burning your feet. Because a lot of the composite boards, they torch your feet if you're in the sun. And so that's been a really cool change.
Did you just say it's been a cool change?
Yeah, that's
okay.
So the other thing is framing. So San Diego is going high fire zone for pretty much everything. So one of the things that is going to be the next trend is switching off of wood framing and doing steel, aluminum. There's a composite framing that's out. I'm not touching it yet because I don't like to be the first for something structural. But once it gets proven that it can last, that'll probably be the end game, is where the whole deck, the framing, the decking, all composite.
Really?
So, yeah, and all fire rated. There's a lot of brands that are now doing Class A fire rated boards where you can have them in high fire zones without a problem.
Okay.
So that's where we're going in San Diego.
Okay.
All high fire.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, people who maybe have not yet started their deck project, but unfortunately you're learning in this episode it's going to take you a couple of months or maybe multiples of couples of months.
Yes.
Start considering that kind of stuff now. And then when you talk to someone like Dave, or you talk to Dave directly, to have understanding kind of where's the landscape of all that in the deck world right now. So let's talk really quickly to the people who are like in and around real estate. Who are the types of people? I know the homeowner can directly find you if they do want to. They want to do a deck. Cool. Homeowners, you can reach Dave. But what about people in and around real estate? What are the types of inlets for referrals for you? Who's commonly calling you saying, "Oh, I have someone who needs a deck"?
So I'm going to answer that in 1 second. But
Yeah.
one thing, back to the fire zone, that is a big deal, not just with cities, but with insurance companies. So a lot of people are getting their insurance canceled here. And it doesn't matter if you get a permit and did it the right way. The insurance company can still show up and go, "We don't like this wood patio cover, tear it down." And that just happened to a client in Escondido 10 months after they built a wood cover. Insurance company said, "Tear that down and put up aluminum, or we cancel your insurance." And so they did. They switched to aluminum, but that's an expensive 10 months of a wood patio cover. So make sure you're checking with your insurance company, all that. So
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
All right. Can you repeat the question though?
Yeah, I was saying, so who else is calling you? You're on the receiving end of the phone call. Who's the people in the business world calling you and saying, "Hey, I've got a referral for you"?
So agents, a lot of the calls I get are, "Hey, my client is buying a house and it has a deck, or they're selling a house and it has a deck. I need to know how much it's going to cost to repair this, or if it's safe." A lot of times home inspectors will, not do the most thorough. They'll inspect the home, but kind of ignore the deck or patio cover. And so I'll come in as a second inspector just for that. And it can be a huge difference. My brother went out to do an inspection on a deck. The homeowner was offering $20,000 credit for the repairs. It was $125,000 to fix it.
Whoa.
So she did not buy it.
Whoa, what?
So yeah, the home inspector had missed everything. And it was,
that's crazy.
It was not safe in any way. And she had small children, so she didn't buy it. And she wrote us a great review about how she would have gone bankrupt if she'd bought the house, because it had to be done and she didn't have the money. And so she would have lost everything if she had not got the second inspection.
Holy cow.
So that's something we do a decent amount of those second inspections. Only area I don't, people can still call me and I can tell them who to call. We just don't deal with waterproof decks. Okay. So the ones that look like painted concrete.
Yeah.
We don't deal with that. Waterproof surfaces over a garage, over a kitchen. But I do have some buddies in the industry that's their specialty. Yeah. So I can refer people out. But those are the main things that I get from real estate agents.
Yeah.
Is that, or people who just bought a house and they know they have a plan for what they're going to do and they want a deck. So I'll get a lot of agents who call me and say, "Hey, my client, they're closing on the 20th and they want to build a deck as soon as possible. Can you go meet with them?"
Yeah. Awesome.
And those are my favorite.
No, that's good. No, that's good. And when I asked that, so you'd have a chance, so that the people again who we send this show to, who are also in those, they're in real estate or in even home inspectors, so that they know. But people around, it's I'm seeing that as backyards have become smaller, even second story decks are becoming more popular, where you're allowed to extend outside your master bedroom or something. It's becoming. I'm just starting to see it more, I guess.
Yep.
And I know I've wanted to have this conversation with you because of knowing you for so long, for a while. So I'm glad to have had you come in today too, to talk about this. I was surprised that it's taking so long to get a deck permit, to be candid. I was like, okay, cool. Maybe, 3 months. That doesn't sound like out of the ordinary.
You get a pool permit or an ADU permit, then to get a deck permit.
That is so nuts. That's crazy. That's so crazy. Where can everybody find you? I want to put your contact information in the description box of the video below. So where's the best place for people to reach you?
So our website is FraserDecksAndPatioCovers.com, and that's FRASER, not like the TV show. And then if you want to see a lot more of our work, our website is pretty static. Our pictures are updated a lot more on Instagram and Yelp, and it's under the same thing. So Instagram.com/Fraser Decks and Patio Covers, and you'll see a lot of our stuff of exactly what we build there. And then they can reach me anytime at my phone number, 760-703-0739.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thank you for coming in today and having this conversation with me. This is the first time we've had like a deck and patio cover conversation on this channel. So I'm grateful to have you come in. And I'm also thankful to also have this be our first show of this nature, also with a friend, and also with a friend who's just like killing it when it comes to being, I'll say, rewarded in a very visible and trustworthy spaces, such as all these providers you're talking about. Congratulations, by the way. I don't think I said that the entire show. Dave, congratulations.
Thank you.
On all your success.
Congrats on the new podcast.
Thank you. And with your team's success too. I mean, I know it kind of slid past the point earlier, but it's really the composition of everybody involved that's generated these outcomes. Yeah. And I know that, but also, you need to take your own little victory lap too. Like it takes you showing up and doing your part as well. So
I have one more thing that I'd like. This is kind of an advice thing for people in other cities, but San Diego is kind of its own weird market. And all the deck builders, we're all friends. So we all hang out together. We go golfing, we go fishing. Like there's a whole bunch of deck builders that are really good friends. And I find in some other cities, it's very cutthroat where they try to sabotage each other. They'll undercut each other. They'll do a project for free just so the other guy can't land it. Just really cutthroat in other areas. And out here, it's the opposite. So, I'm going in for some major surgeries.
Right.
In the last couple of weeks, I've had 12 different competitors and reps call to offer to run my projects for free while I'm out. Where else do you find competitors, instead of hoping you go under, where they're offering to keep you afloat while you're out? And so, I'm very honored that so many guys did that, but it's just kind of a testament to our industry and then the guys in our market.
It's testament to them and a testament to you too. If they're willing to do that for you, that says something as well. I'm also learning that there's a deck mafia in San Diego. That's what I learned right now. There's a deck mob. Apparently, Dave is the godfather of the deck mob. So when's the next deck mob meeting?
Yeah.
At an undisclosed location at an undisclosed time. I get it. Okay.
It'll be after my surgery.
After surgery. Oh my gosh. Dave, thank you so much for coming on to Friends and Mortgage Trios with me. I appreciate you making the trek all the way down here to South Bay. If you need to reach Dave directly, you can find all of his contact details in the description box below. He mentioned his Instagram account. He also mentioned their website and his phone number. So if you need Dave and his team to build a custom deck for you in your house, or if you are in the industry and you have a client that wants to have a custom deck built at their residence, please reach out to Dave and his crew so they can make that deck for you as well. Dave, thanks for coming by. You did a great job today. And thank you all for watching Friends of Mortgage Heroes. We look forward to seeing you with another great guest next week. See you then.